We need to change everything. David put down his phone. What does that mean? It means we stop living like both of our jobs are permanent. We build our life around one income. Then the other income becomes our escape fund instead of our prison guard. David was skeptical. We can't live on one income. We can barely live on two. Because our expenses are built for two, Rachel said. That's the trap. We rent an apartment that requires both of us to work to afford it. We have a car payment that requires both of us to work. We need to shrink the foundation. She laid out a plan. Step 1, reduce their fixed monthly costs to what David's income alone could cover. His take-home was about $4,500 per month. That meant they needed to get rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, and minimum debt payments down to $4,500 or less. Step 2. Rachel's entire income would go to savings, debt payoff, and investments. No lifestyle inflation, no upgrades. Step 3. Build a real emergency fund. 6 months of expenses minimum. Then max out retirement accounts. Then start a brokerage account. Step 4. Within 5 to 10 years, those investments would start generating passive income, real margin, real freedom. David was quiet for a long time. What does that mean right now? Like, tomorrow? Rachel took a breath. It means we move, somewhere cheaper, smaller, probably not as nice of a neighborhood. They started looking at rentals the next week. They found a 2-bedroom basement apartment for $1,350 a month. The ceilings were low, the kitchen was old, the schools were rated 5 out of 10. David's parents thought they were making a huge mistake. Rachel stopped explaining herself to people who weren't living her life. The first year in the basement apartment was harder than either of them expected. Not because they were hungry, they weren't, but because every dollar had to be justified. No spontaneous purchases, no takeout on exhausted weeknights, no new clothes unless something had holes in it. Rachel brought lunch to work in a reusable container every single day, even when her coworkers ordered from the trendy salad place. David learned to change his own oil and brake pads, watching YouTube tutorials in the apartment parking lot. They said no to birthday parties that required gifts. They said no to weekend trips with friends. They said no so often that Rachel started to feel like the word was carved into her tongue. But every month, they sat down and looked at the spreadsheet. The credit card debt vanished in 7 months. The student loans disappeared in 11 months. The emergency fund grew from $6,000 to $15,000 to $25,000. And something else happened too. The knot in Rachel's stomach started to loosen. She hadn't realized how tight it had been until it began to ease. She stopped checking their bank account every morning. She stopped waking up in the middle of the night to mentally recalculate their expenses. By the end of year 2, they had a fully funded emergency fund and had started putting money into Roth IRAs. By the end of year 3, David got a promotion to $82,000. They didn't upgrade anything. Every extra dollar went into a brokerage account. Rachel got a raise too, to $64,000. Same rule, no lifestyle creep, just more money working for them instead of the other way around. 6 years after they moved into the basement apartment, David and Rachel sat on the back porch of a small house they had bought for $265,000. The mortgage was a 15-year fixed. The payment was easily covered by David's income alone, which had grown to $94,000. Rachel had scaled back to part-time consulting, earning about $45,000 a year, working when she wanted, from wherever she wanted. The numbers had transformed. Emergency fund, 18 months of expenses, retirement accounts, $142,000, brokerage account, $78,000, no debt, no car payments, 2 reliable used vehicles paid for in cash. The second income, all of it, had become optional. It funded travel. It funded extracurriculars for their son. It funded the freedom that Rachel had once thought only rich people could afford. David looked at her across the porch. "Do you remember that house on Elm Street?" Rachel laughed. "The one with the finished basement?" "Yeah, I thought we were making a mistake when we said no." "We weren't making a mistake," Rachel said. "We were making a choice." She reached over and took his hand. They had learned something that no one had ever taught them. That second income was never supposed to be a cage. It was supposed to be a key, and they had finally learned how to use it. The families who win financially aren't the ones with the highest salaries. They're the ones who refuse to let their expenses swallow their flexibility. David and Rachel figured that out. The question is whether you will too.